Hey everyone, it is Tanya. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you are new here. Today we're back with another speed build, and I'm going to be creating a 4-bedroom family house in the world of Evergreen Harbor. I was just really in the mood to create a home on a fairly small lot, but try to make it as big of a house as I possibly could. So this is a 20 by 15 lot. You can see in the upper left-hand corner of the screen, this is Canal Corner in Evergreen Harbor, and I was really surprised at how much space I was able to include in this house. Not only are there 4 bedrooms, there's also a garage and a pretty good size like downstairs living space. So you'll see that when we get inside, but right now I'm just working on the roofing. I had an idea of the general shape I wanted to go for, and I am just playing around and trying to make it look as interesting as possible. Basically just trying to have some good curb appeal on this house. So I hope you will like this one. If you do and you'd like to download it, it is available right now on the Sims 4 gallery. You can find it under my EA ID, which is Gryphi, Gryphi. You could also find it under the hashtag Gryphi, and that information is also in the description down below as well. And before we get any further into this video, I just quickly wanted to let you know that there is another huge sale going on right now on the EA app for the holiday season. And the discounts are even better than Black Friday. Lots of content is 50% off, and a few expansion packs are even 60% off, like Cottage Living, High School Years, Growing Together, and Horse Ranch. The sale goes on through January 2nd, so if you've been thinking about grabbing some new Sims packs, now is a fantastic time to do so. And if you do, please consider using my code Gryphi at checkout. You just enter it when purchasing on the EA app, and it doesn't cost you anything extra. It's just another way to support me as a creator. So thank you in advance if you decide to use my code, and thanks to EA for sponsoring this portion of the video. So I decided to build this house on medium wall height on the bottom floor and then use platforms to lead you up to it. So the actual flooring in there is a little bit taller, or the actual walls are not as tall. So it's medium wall height, but it doesn't feel like medium wall height. I'm not sure if that makes sense. But I will actually be adjusting that in a little bit here to make it so it is on a 3 tall platform instead of a 2 tall one, which I have right now. And I am playing around with the windows and these little pieces to hold up the roof. I also changed the color of this house so many different times, but we get there in the end. It ends up being a white and brick. But for a while I had a wood tone that matches the shutters that I have on the windows right now. And I do like that, but something about it just felt like it didn't fit into this area. It might be because of the brick behind this slot. I just felt like this house needed to be brick. So I will change that. And I'm pretty happy with it. And I feel like this might be my favorite house I've built on this lot. I feel like I often struggle with this particular lot in this world. And so it was nice to have something that I felt like came together pretty quickly. I also do have a few other bigger family homes in the works that I'm very excited about. I know this one's not necessarily bigger. It does have a lot of bedrooms, but it's not like a big house. I do have a house I've been building on a 40 by 30 lot. It doesn't take up the whole lot like this one does. But it's still a pretty spacious house, and I'm excited to share that. I've been getting really into some bigger builds lately, which is why there hasn't been as many videos on the channel. That and the fact that the holidays just happened, and it's just been a lot to try and catch up on everything. So I'm excited to be posting some more, and I'm really hoping that I will be back on Twitch very soon. I know I took a bit of a break, but I think this next year I'm going to be on a lot more starting this upcoming week, which I'm very excited about. And yeah, anyway, right now I'm just adding some extra space upstairs because I felt like there wasn't really enough space up there to include all of the bedrooms I wanted to. So I'm just extending on the side over here to accommodate some more upstairs space and still keep a pretty interesting roof line. And I'm doing that in the back as well to add some more room up here so I could have those 4 bedrooms. And I think it works out okay. I still got the general roof line that I wanted. It just has a couple of extra bump outs that I wasn't originally intending to have there, but that's just kind of the way it works in The Sims. And there ends up being a back porch and a side porch. So there are lots of exits to this house if your Sims are trying to get out in, I don't know, case of a fire or something. Although I'm pretty sure I used nicer appliances in here, so hopefully that doesn't happen too easily. Anyway, here are the 3 steps up now using platforms, and I grabbed a front door from the Growing Together pack. I really like that one. And I will be changing the swatch a little bit later once I change the shutter color and the wall color so that it makes a little bit more sense. And I will also be playing around with the flooring and the tiles leading up to the front of the lot. And I think the next thing we're going to do is work on the floor plan. Yeah, so when you go into the garage area, it's a garage. It doesn't have a ton of space in there. I'm not sure how well a car would fit in there. I feel like it would be very tight, but we don't have functional cars in the game, so I felt like it was okay. And then the kitchen is going to be back here, but where I put the uh, bathroom and the laundry room, you can see I just deleted those walls. I changed my mind because I realized that is where I put the chimney on the outside of the house. So I really wanted that to be where the living room was, so I had to like play around with how I wanted the layout to be in here. And I think that was good because I really like the final layout I ended up with, which is you walk in, you're in an entryway, and then off to the side is the dining space, the kitchen's in the back, and then over in the other side is where the living room is. And we have the staircase right in the front entryway. And of course, a spacious garage as well. And then upstairs, I am playing around with the floor plan here now. I adjust some of the walls a couple of different times because I originally didn't want to have a very narrow hallway, but I decided to go for it in the end because it just made more sense. So you'll see me playing around with that here, trying to figure out the best way to have a 4-bedroom space, but also have 2 bathrooms. I wanted to have a hall bathroom as well as an ensuite for the primary, and I think it worked out very, very well in the end. And then I also decided to add some spandrels downstairs and columns to act as archways into the variety of rooms so that it wasn't fully open concept. It was a little bit more closed off. And at this point, I hadn't changed the color yet, so I had painted all the floors that yellow wood, but now I'm changing the brick on the outside, and that's when I'm going to go back in and adjust the colors of everything else before we start decorating. And I'm really glad I did that because I just felt like this worked a little bit better, but I do want to do something else with that orange wood at some point, especially because I think that's my favorite swatch of the Parenthood counters, which I originally was going to use in this build, but obviously since I changed the colors, I didn't end up keeping those. But I do think they're really pretty, and I have definitely been leaning more towards dark woods lately. I've been using a lot of these deeper wood tones, although this one isn't as like dark. It's more of like it's not a mid-tone either. It's not like a super deep wood though. I don't know how to explain this one. But I've been using a lot of darker wood tones lately, so let me know what like other wood tones you would like to see. Is there something you feel like you haven't seen in a while? I would love to know because I know we all get into, I don't know if I want to call it a rut, but like we get into certain color schemes that we stick with. And right now for me, it is dark woods. So I'm totally open to do some other color schemes. Anyway, in the kitchen, I end up using these countertops from Base Game and a couple of appliances here from the Cool Kitchen stuff pack. And I think the layout in here ends up working out really nicely. It's not one I do very often. It's kind of a weird shaped kitchen, but I like that. I feel like it is more unique. And it's really refreshing whenever I get to do a little bit of a different shape or using different items I don't use as often. So I was really happy with this one. I also did scale down a couple of counter pieces with tulle ever so slightly to 0.999 so that they wouldn't clip with the counters next to them and I could still center the sink under these 2 windows. And I also placed down these curtains from from Growing Together. And I don't end up keeping them in the end because they have really weird issues with lighting. And after a while, they just got really dark. One of them did. So I ended up changing those later on. But for right now, they are here as I'm decorating the kitchen. I added a towel on the front of the sink and we're going to get a variety of clutter over here in the corner. One of the things is this box from the Dream Home Decorator pack. I kind of shoved it into the counter to look like a bread box. Of course, I got some cutting boards and some jars that could be all sorts of different kitchen items like flour, coffee, tea, all of that. And some flowers over here as well. And I'm trying to think what else I get in here other than this dish rack. Probably just like the standard kitchen stuff, like some utensils by the stove. We have some paper towels. I also end up getting over around this corner piece of the kitchen. I end up grabbing a stand for baked goods. I thought that was really cute because that's what you see through the door when you're walking into the kitchen. So we'll be grabbing that here shortly. I thought that was a fun idea. I wanted to have something like kind of pretty or like on display on this corner counter. So that way, you know, it's the first thing you see from the dining room. And then I will also be adding a couple of decorations or more than a couple to the other counters on the other side. But I wanted to make sure the middle one was kept free of clutter so your Sims could actually prepare food there because I pretty much put items on every other counter in this kitchen. So you'll see that I'm keeping things to the 2 sides, although I do end up adding a chalkboard up right above the middle counter And that's a wall decoration, so it doesn't block anything, but it just felt too empty without putting something there. So I will be grabbing that. I tried to use this plant, but it just didn't work the way I wanted it to. But I did get this beautiful fruit bowl, and I grabbed a smaller plant to put over there as well. Yeah, this one, which I believe is from the greenhouse kit. I think so. There's some spray bottles over here, a nice coffee pot, and here is that chalkboard I had mentioned. I like the idea of adding these in kitchens, like writing down ideas for food for the week. I know personally I have a whiteboard on my fridge that we will write down meal ideas for the week. We don't always stick to it, but it helps us to plan grocery shopping or just knowing an idea of what we're going to make for dinner that night, so you don't spend hours going, what do you want for dinner? I don't know. So I liked the idea of that in the kitchen. And now we are outside and working on the landscaping. I really wanted to use a bunch of hydrangeas out here. I started with these purple ones and I ended up mixing in some blue ones as well. And I ended up trying to carry that into the color scheme inside. I really tried to have like purple couches, but I definitely ended up leaning more towards blue. I tried a few different options inside and I thought that the blue looked a little bit nicer, but one of the kids' bedrooms does end up being purple, which I think is really fun. And I'm excited to share the kids' bedrooms with you. One of them I imagined was more of a tween, like in between kid and teen. Then there's one that's definitely a teen, like an older teen, probably going to college soon. And then there is a child. So those are the ones I decorated. I thought they were so fun, and we'll get to those shortly. But right now I'm just adding a little fence outside and playing around with the pathway up to the front of the house. And we should be getting some terrain paint here shortly as well. And I decided instead of using the mailbox I normally use from Snowy Escape on the wall, I decided to get this one instead at the end of our sidewalk. And here is all of that terrain paint that I am adding. And I should be getting some more plants over on this side as well to fill out this side of the lot. There's not a lot of greenery on this lot because it's a very small lot with a pretty big house for the size of it. But I was pretty happy with what I was able to achieve on this space. So yeah, just adding some more hydrangeas and low-lying plants, and I believe another tall shrub over in the corner, yeah. And that should be pretty much it for the landscaping. And towards the end of the build, I come back out because the older teenager in this house really likes sports, so I do end up adding a basketball hoop out front, which I think is really fun, and a couple of other activities for the kids to enjoy as well. And there's not a lot of space for things, so I don't have like a swing set or monkey bars or anything like that, but I do have hopscotch out here. I will be getting a basketball hoop later. There's going to be a bike, and I believe I get the water balloon bucket as well as the chalk that's drawn on the ground for your Sims to play marbles. So there are quite a few activities out here for the kids, and I could just imagine lots of storylines here. Although one thing that I think would have been cool, which I just didn't have a way to achieve in this house easily, was maybe using some of the windows from the high school expansion pack or high school years expansion pack so that your teens could sneak out. I think that would be a really fun storyline for this house, but I didn't end up using those sort of windows. But maybe I will build something sometime soon that purposefully has a space for the teenagers to sneak out. Maybe have like some sort of fun storyline on why that is or what this teen is interested in. I think that could be really fun. Let me know if that's something you would like to see. Anyway, this is the living room. As you can see, I'm trying to use these purple couches from Seasons, but I didn't end up keeping them in the end. I actually ended up going with some love seats from the Tiny Living Stuff pack. I also tried some love seats from Cozy Kitsch, but I thought that these worked the best. They felt like they kind of went with the style of the kitchen, even though the kitchen is a little bit more traditional. And that's something I often do in my builds, where the kitchen might not be the exact same style as the rest of the house because the kitchen's built in, whereas the furniture is stuff that your Sims purchase or bring with them from previous homes. So I think it makes way more sense and feels more realistic when it's not all perfectly matchy-matchy like that. And speaking of which, this living room is a little bit matchy-matchy because I realized that this chair was the exact swatch of one of the colors in this rug. So I had to use it. I thought it was so pretty, and I just put a blue pillow on there to bring in the color of the couches and the rug. I thought it was so cute. And then over in the corner, I'm getting a plant, and there's also going to be a bunch of toys in this corner for the kids. So I do end up getting a toy box as well as a couple of more decorative toys. They're not ones your Sims can actually play with. So I'll be grabbing a llama and one of the ones from the Growing Together pack that's like a laundry basket with a bear in it. It's supposed to look, I think, like a pirate ship. Just like those really creative toys that came with that pack that look like your Sims were kind of just throwing everyday items together, using their imagination to create some fun toys. So I really enjoyed that. And then over by the back door, I just have our fire alarm as well as temperature controls and a place to hang up a coat. And now we're back in the kitchen where I changed out those curtains and also the like mat in front of the sink. I like to have a cozy mat for your Sims to stand on. Not that it really matters in The Sims, but in real life, I think it's nice to have something cushioned under your feet while you're doing dishes, especially because it can take a long time. And I didn't add a washing machine, not washing machine. I think there is a washing machine in this house because I have those in the garage, but I didn't add a dishwasher in this house, but you could definitely add one across from where the sink is on those 3 counters that I kept empty. The middle one could fit a dishwasher and you would still be able to prep food on that. So that'd be a good spot to add one. But anyway, this is the downstairs bathroom. I considered just having it as a half bath, but I decided to add a shower in here as well because this is a pretty big household and it's just nice to have an extra shower. So I had the space for it, so I included that in here. And I will be coming back in here and actually swapping out the cabinet because I picked out a different one that I thought about using in the entryway, but then I decided it would work better in the bathroom. So I will swap that here shortly, but we are going to work on the dining room instead, or first, I should say, not instead. We will also work on the entryway and swap out the thing in the bathroom. So I used these same curtains that I used throughout the living room from the Modern Luxe kit in this beautiful navy blue color. I also am using a high top table from Lovestruck. I haven't used this table that much, but I really like it. So I decided to use that in this space and just got a couple of decorations up here. We have a plant. I also get a little basket from the Book Nook kit and some salt and pepper, just some like basic clutter for this table. And then we should be moving on into more of the entry area, which is in the same room. It's just a little bit off to the side. So I, of course, made sure to have a coat rack over here and an umbrella stand, which, speaking of which, I got an umbrella stand for Christmas. I've been asking for one. Well, I haven't been asking for one. I've been thinking about getting one for years, but they're weirdly expensive. So I asked Santa for one this year and I got one. So I finally have an umbrella stand in my entryway and I'm very happy about it. I also don't really have a defined entryway because I live in an apartment and you open the door and you're in the living room. So it's just nice to have a place to throw those kind of things. Anyway, this is our sort of defined entryway here. I have a little side table with a mirror, a place to throw your mail, and I also made sure to add some space to hang up some portraits and all sorts of other artwork heading up the staircase. I used this gallery wall piece from Lovestruck as the base, and then I added on some other pieces of art to it to make it feel a little bit more full. So grabbing whatever I could that still felt like it kind of matched the colors of everything there. And then we are working on the garage. I did want to have laundry in this house, so we have a washer and dryer out in the garage, as well as a sink, a place for the hamper for the house. I actually end up having a couple of them, and the decoration box, as well as a couple of workout equipment pieces. So we have the big weight machine, as well as a punching bag, and just a couple of other decor items. I just wanted it to feel like a pretty realistic garage, although it's probably a lot cleaner than most people's garages. I haven't had one since I was a child, and I know it was a disaster. It was a 2-car garage, and one side was so filled with just random stuff of my parents that you couldn't even walk over there. And the other one was like half filled with junk, and also it's where my dad parked his motorcycle. So we never really used it for the cars. So I don't know why I just told you all of that, but anyway, we had a very messy garage, and that's not usually what I do in The Sims because it's not very functional that way. So I just like to use those spaces as either skill building or storage for items that you're not really sure where to put in the house, but they are functional still for your Sims since, you know, actual garages don't have a big realistic need in the game without cars. Although I still really hope someday we'll have cars, but at this point we're 10 years into The Sims 4, so I highly doubt it. But I guess we'll see if there's ever a future iteration of the game. It's kind of confusing what Project Renee is supposed to be because they've said it's not the next generation, but it still feels like it's the next generation. I think it's just because they're trying to push the idea that The Sims 4 will be going on at the same time as this next game, so it's not like this one's retiring and that one's coming, if that makes sense. At least that's how I've perceived all of that news. Let me know how you have. It's kind of confusing, but anyway, this is the upstairs hallway. I just have a side table that I put some books and flowers and a little plushie on. This adorable little sloth, which is from the Storybook Nursery kit. I love that stuffed animal. There's some really nice swatches on it, and so I thought it would be nice to have, just some like toys scattered around the house. And then this is our primary bedroom, bringing in some more of that blue swatch, using this bed from Growing Together and bringing in those same curtains that I've used throughout the house. I also really enjoyed bringing in some brick accent walls. That's just something I enjoy doing in my builds in general because I dream of having a brick wall. I don't know why. I've just never had that, and I just think they look really nice. And actually, speaking of dream things, I'm considering doing a new dream home build. And I don't mean like the average dream home. I mean like my dream home, what I want. I built one a few years back, and it was a mix of a lot of styles because I don't have one specific style I like. But I'm kind of thinking I might do another one because I really hope sometime in the next few years I can find and afford to buy a home. I'm not sure if that will ever happen because it just seems so unattainable, but like maybe I can build my dream first house, like something that I think is a little bit more attainable, and maybe we can manifest it through me building it in The Sims. I don't know. It's just an idea. Let me know if you'd like to see what my dream, like, realistic starter home is, because I, at this point, still feel like I'm destined to just always be in a small, bad apartment because that's all I've ever known. So I think that could be fun. Anyway, this is our first kids room. This is the one that I had mentioned I was thinking was kind of like a tween or an early young teenager. And I was thinking the sim was really into anime. That was the idea behind it. There's a lot of purple in here and yellow, and I just had a lot of fun with the decor in here. This kid kind of reminds me a little bit of myself, although I was never really into these bright colors like this. I was definitely very into anime. In high school, I spent a lot of time going to anime conventions and cosplaying. I just really relate to this space in that way. Although my room was more like dark. Oh, the walls were white because I wasn't allowed to paint the walls, but I had so many posters tacked up on my closet that I had printed off of the computer of various bands, and I was also a huge fan of Disturbed. And so what I did was I printed out the letters of the band Disturbed in their font individually so I could get each letter as big as possible on a sheet of paper. And then I cut out those letters and I stapled them to my wall. So across the wall, it just said Disturbed. And I just had all kinds of like posters and stuff tacked up. But I really enjoyed that room. And then this is for our older teenager who is really into sports. I wanted the idea that they have a bed for the college they want to go to, or like the bedspread for it. Or maybe they're already in school and they live at home. There's different ways you could play this out. So I was thinking they were into Foxberry and they were into sports. So we have like basketballs around and a pair of shoes, which I think I leave in front of the door by accident. So I might have to move that before I upload this to the gallery. Oopsies. But I did get some trophies in here and all sorts of storage. I just really leaned into a red and blue color scheme, which I feel like is one I don't do that often because I'm not a huge fan of mixing those two colors. But for some reason, I felt like it worked really nicely here. And I thought it was fun. It was different. I'm getting a lamp on the bedside table, and there's also going to be a desk in here with the same lamp on it. And I also decided the sim was going to like video games as well because I don't feel like Sims or people are only into one thing. They usually have more than one interest. And it could be any kind of video games. It could be just more sports games for all we know. But I do end up adding a console and a small TV in here. At first, I add them on the desk, but I am going to switch them over into a different spot later on. So that way it looks like they could sit on the bed and play. And there's like a dedicated space for the television. And the console I used is actually the new one that came with the recent like holiday event that we had. And it looks so much like a GameCube, and that just makes me so happy. I feel very nostalgic for GameCube. I didn't actually get one when it first came out. I did play it though because some of my friends had them, but I got a GameCube much later in time when I was in high school, when the current consoles I think at the time were the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. I got a GameCube and I loved that thing so much. I played so many games, but the console I have the most nostalgia for is definitely the Nintendo 64. That was the one that I played so much of as a child, like forever. And also it's how I got started on Twitch. I started with a Super Mario 64 speedruns, specifically 16-star runs. That was my jam. That was what I was really into. And yeah, very off topic here, but there's a little bit of back info on me. I mostly stay on topic in these videos, but I like my little tangents. I love my ADHD. But back to the build now. We are almost done with the child's room. It's very much dinosaur themed, and I was also thinking that this kid was into arts. So I do have the craft table and a couple of other decorations in here that allude to the same liking to draw and paint and all of that. I really like the colors of the blues and greens in here. I knew I wanted to use that rug, but I was also dedicated to using the same beds in all of the kids' rooms, just with different swatches, because I thought it was realistic that they would have purchased like the same beds. Whether that was all at once, probably not, because they're different ages, or maybe it's a more budget option. They could have gotten the same ones over time at IKEA. I thought that that was pretty realistic. But yeah, just finishing up the decorations here, and then we'll be adding a couple of things outside to finish up the build, including that basketball hoop I had mentioned. And that will be pretty much it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed this one. If you did and you'd like to download it, it is available right now on the Sims 4 gallery. You can find it under my EA ID, which is Gryphi, Gryphi. You can also find it under the hashtag Gryphi, and that information will also be in the description down below as well. And if you liked this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more, and click that bell to be notified when I upload. And a massive thank you to my YouTube members for all of your support. If you'd like to become a member yourself, you can click the link in the description or the join button below the video. Enjoy the screenshots, and I'll see y'all soon. Bye, everyone.